Okay, in this video, I'm going to discuss another video that I've seen, and I'll leave a link to it down in the description box, okay? But once again, if you could, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I'm doing these videos in a series, trying to keep short and to the point of a very complex thing that's going on with gun control. And at some time coming up towards the election, it's not going to be good for all of us. And it's a lot of subtle little things that have been happening the past couple of years that even though all these people are onto it, we're missing, and it's a progressive step. This video we're going to talk about how the ATF is going around and revoking a lot of federal firearms licenses. Now, Washington Gun Law, he did a very in-depth video on this. I'm going to put a link to this down in the description box. Watch it. He explains it in detail. It's like a 10-minute video. But he explains how it's done, and also not so much as revoking the licenses, just constantly harassing people to where he mentions there's like in the last year there was over 1,000 FFL holders that just turned their licenses in, ceased their business, because the hassle of doing the business is so difficult that they just would rather just stop other than go on. So this is an ongoing trend. And like I said, it's combined with a few other things. Okay, they're making it difficult for people to do business. Henceforth, they're giving up. Okay, any clerical error could get your license suspended. Where it should be, you should be warned, reprimanded, and all this other stuff. But if you watch that video from Washington Gun Law, he explains how they've twisted this and added things in there to where it's a breeze to get your license revoked, okay? And actually they did it in a way that if you had perfect record keeping and for years have never had trouble, never been audited, never been told that you made a mistake or there was a clerical error, they actually changed it now to where they said if you go for years with a perfect record and all your paperwork's in order and all of a sudden they find a clerical error, they say that's willful disregard of the regulation and will suspend your license. So it's pretty wild. Now, also, this has been going on for years. I've known for years. They started years ago of auditing people. I knew one guy, he said, when me and my father started this little part-time business in our home, he goes, we had the license for well over 30 years. My dad got it, put me on it when I was old enough. And he goes, we've had a federal firearms license for well over 30 years. And he goes, it wasn't until the last 5 years that I start getting audited at least once a year. And he said, for 30 years, I never had any questions, never had a problem. There was nothing wrong with our record keeping, our paperwork, or anything. And so this is something that's been ongoing, and it's gotten worse. Okay, and that video explains it. Now, where this kind of comes in, like in the scheme, he mentioned this, but everyone remembers back, and I'm going to go to this law, and it has to do with the reason these changes came is the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Now, this was something signed into law. This is a law. This is not a ruling or a change. And this was signed in 2000, I think 22, and I'll put another link when I do a video on this. And this is where it's all coming undone. Okay, so they've been harassing FFLs. They started even being more aggressive recently. And after this Bipartisan Safer Communities Act was passed, I remember the big stink you remember when I did the video with the 4473 forms, the new version that came out like this year? I did a video on it and I showed you how they've changed that form you use to buy a firearm. It's a basic federal form. Any of us who've legally bought a weapon of some sort, be it a rifle, shotgun, pistol, had to fill one out. Okay, they changed this form, and I before they made it mandatory, I went through there and they changed it, and most of the changes were the one weird one: do you live in the city limits? Are you the actual purchaser of this firearm? Then again, these questions: do you intend to sell this firearm to a convicted felon, to a terrorist, to this and that? All these strange questions changed around, okay? And actually, when I went over it with the FFL guy, me and him discussed it, a guy I know, and he's really good. He runs a small business, but his paperwork is perfect. And me and him went over it, and he said the way this thing is set up, he goes, it's confusing, and you can make mistakes. They redesigned the form to where somebody can easily get confused, because I had uploaded this video months ago, and all I get are all these questions. Okay, I am not privy to answer that. I'm not a dealer. I don't get the bulletins, the updates, but it's just in the comment section, all kinds of questions. It's highly confusing, and it's easy for someone to slip up, okay? Like the fact, do I live within the city limits? As a matter of fact, I do not. Okay, so if I check yes, that's clerical error, that's falsified document. That FFL can lose his license over my filling that out wrong. Okay, and then that stuff about the immigrations, you got to leave the last one blank or something, or don't fill one out, and that, very confusing. Okay, and it's easy for a clerical error to be made. And I believe the FFL cannot instruct you on how to fill the form out. Okay, so now you've set the door to where it's even more, if you're going to suspend somebody first offense on a clerical error, they've made the form so confusing that there probably are going to be more clerical errors, and people are going to get their FFLs suspended. Okay, it's a pretty diabolical plan. I just didn't realize that until I started putting all these pieces together and all these different things happening, and they didn't happen instantly. Passing that Bipartisan Safer Act, that the first thing they did in the wording of that law is that anyone under the age of 21, their background check must be more in depth. Okay, being over 60, I don't see it happening, but if you're under 21 and the state says you can buy a shotgun at 18, say you're 19 years old, they can make you wait, and they go back and check for sealed records, mental health things, all this other stuff that is a juvenile is sealed. Okay? And how do they do that? And whatever, that's something I don't have to deal with, but this is part of that law. Okay, this is why this has been placed on the new 4473 forms. Okay. Also, in that, and I'll cover that Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, this ain't a good thing. It's going to make all this other stuff I've talked about, they're fighting in court, the pistol braces, power, 80%, damn AR-15 bans, which a lot of these states enacted it, they're being taken to court, and a lot of stuff, as it should be, is being thrown out, is unconstitutional. And again, a lot of this, other than the states passing a law, a lot of this stuff they say is the overreach of the ATF. Well, with this new law, they changed the law, changed the wording, which now it's not overreach by the ATF. It is an actual law or bill that was signed into law. So now you got another court battle, okay, here, which And all of this is gradually building up step by step, okay? It's intensifying because we all know what the end of next year is going to be. It's all going to be the election year, okay? And I'll go into another video saying how this law also is kind of bringing a universal background check to everybody or something. It's cloudy, and they have not yet decided how they're going to put this in, the wording into the actual law, which is supposed to come in effect sometime next year, which is going to affect all gun owners, okay? So this is a calculated, step-by-step, very subtle thing that's coming up, and I'll make another video discussing another point of it. This one was about the FFLs and how changing that form makes it even easier to revoke a legitimate businessman's livelihood or eliminate gun dealers. Basically what they want to do is eliminate gun dealers, okay, in an unjust manner. All right, that's what all of this looks like here. So, like I said, check out that link. That guy, Washington Gun Law, he explains this in ultimate detail. But if you take each point, put it in a line, you'll see where it's going. All right, stay tuned.